Welcome to the Still Curtain podcast, powered by stillcurtain.com. It's Monday, February 23rd, and the NFL Scouting Combine is just 2 days away. I'm Josh Yourish, joined by FanSided's Mark Powell and Still Curtain's Shayne Kubas to attempt the impossible task of predicting Aaron Rodgers' future, give an early primer for NFL free agency, and of course, we have to start with it, talk a little NFL Scouting Combine. Shayne, I'll throw to you first. You're our resident draft Nick. Who are we looking out for at the Scouting Combine? What are the storylines? We know now that obviously Fernando Mendoza is not going to do really anything at the Combine. He's the presumptive number one pick. But QB2, who is still mocked to the Steelers quite often, Ty Simpson is going to be throwing. What are you looking for as the NFL world descends on Lucas Oil Stadium this week?
Honestly, there's a lot of things that we'll have to be watching out for. Mostly, though, I think things that aren't necessarily on the field. Because we all know that the Combine, as much as these events and the different tests these guys are doing, do matter to some degree. Some more than others, and we'll get into that when we talk about kind of our expectations and what we're watching for in terms of players specifically. But it's really the news that comes out of the Combine because everyone's there. They're all talking. They're all saying stuff. Agents are saying things. They're getting stuff from GMs and coaches and all this stuff. There's always a lot of rumors that come out of the Combine, right? And that might include the Steelers, right, with the Aaron Rodgers situation, with obviously who they're looking at in the draft potentially, who they're meeting with. That type of stuff honestly matters really more than anything we're probably going to see on the field a lot of the time.
A piece of news that did come out of Indy today, Ty Simpson apparently had gastritis, which is inflammation of the stomach down the stretch of the regular season. So he's kind of talked about as like this tale of two halves quarterback prospect, 1 year starter, played really incredibly well. In my opinion, was the best quarterback in college football for like the first 9 games of the season. It maybe not week 1 against Florida State, but a really good stretch there. He was excellent. And then he faded. He had elbow bursitis. He had a lower back issue. He eventually cracked a rib against Indiana, but he also had this gastritis that, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, dropped his weight from about 215, 220 to 190 by the time of the Rose Bowl. And that's kind of at least what the Simpson, that never came out during the season, but that's at least what the Simpson camp, I would imagine, is pushing as their explanation for the late season struggles. Mark, sense. do you buy any of it?
Yes. I mean, obviously to a certain extent, I think it's rare to see a player completely drop off like Simpson did. I think he's doing a very good job, and his camp is doing a great job now too, of painting this tale of 2 seasons. Yeah. That's what they want all the teams to believe. That's what they want their fan bases to believe, the media, everything. And the more they do that, the easier it'll be when Simpson, theoretically comes out here to the Combine and just balls out. It'll make it much easier for him to, sneak into that, early 20s conversation, which ironically is right where the Steelers sit. But yeah, I do buy it because he looked very confident early on as well. He was very decisive. I was hearing comps to kind of like mid-career Tony Romo almost with him.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
And then just like all of a sudden, it was kind of like he wasn't the same player. Was it everything that his camp is saying it was? I don't know if it was everything, but it was. I'm sure it played a role.
So my concern, Shayne, about Simpson, obviously you have the small sample size stuff, which I do think matters. Like Mitch Trubisky is the one that jumps to mind as like he's like the small sample size guy that didn't go right. He's not. Simpson isn't quite that. A few more games, the games are similar. Now we're getting to like an even smaller sample size if we're going to buy okay, these injuries hampered him that much. I generally believe they do, along with all the other issues that Alabama had, protection issues. They had no run game by the end of the season. Everyone had kind of figured that out. There were a lot of drops, but my concerns, while I like Simpson's game a lot, and we'll talk about like if this is actually something the Steelers would consider doing. My concerns are fumbles, right? My concerns are like managing pressure. Sure, maybe being 15, 25 pounds underweight, and they say now he's back up to that weight, so that issue has subsided. Maybe those issues go away. I'm actually interested in his hand measurements. I know we do this every year of like, this is stupid, but I'm interested in it. And it does matter at least a little bit, especially for an potential AFC North quarterback. Do you, Shayne, do you share those same concerns about Simpson? And do you what are you going to take away from the combine with him or any quarterback? Like, do you care about the combine? Because ultimately it's not a ton for me, except for, as you mentioned, the meetings, the rumors, things like that we aren't privy to.
The combine, especially for quarterbacks, is pretty much always going to be centered around their interview process. And we don't get to know that really, right? We'll hear nuggets from teams or agents or whatever about how interviews may have gone or who interviewed with who. But as far as the combine, you want to see them look good. Obviously, you want to see them stand out, especially if you're Simpson, who by all accounts for most people is QB2, and he is for me currently, at least, right? So that is something you want to see him do well at, whatever he chooses to participate in, whether it's just throwing or athletic testing, whatever it is. And I am curious if he tests athletically at all, especially if he says he's back up to his weight, because if he comes in at 220 and he actually tests and does well, I'm like, okay, well then you're 220. Like, you actually, because we see it every year. Like, guys would come in like, oh, I'm 230. It's like, you're not 230. You're 218. You just wanted to look bigger at the combine,
and you're going to get back down to that by the time you run it your pro day. And
right, exactly. But it's neither here nor there. But as far as my opinion on Simpson, I have a day 2 grade on him, early day 2. I do think that in an ideal world, he's a second round quarterback, but I think it's fine to take him at the end of the first if you like him enough. That certainly that type of prospect, which it's hit or miss, obviously. In NFL history, it's not a lot of hits in that range, but overall, I can even just pull from notes here 2 things to stand out positively for me, and then the one negative that you already kind of mentioned I'll touch on. He excels at attacking in the middle of the field. Like, if you were a Steelers fan who has been tired of not attacking the middle of the field, I don't know if they're going to do it any more than they have in the past. Probably will, just by default. But if Simpson has to play, he can do that. Like, that is something he's comfortable doing. Pushing the ball down the field, he has the arm for it, but the accuracy can be a little iffy. I'm not going to lie. That can kind of be a problem for him sometimes. I don't think it's necessarily a lack of ability to do it. I think it's probably lack of reps, and he hasn't played a lot of football like we talked about. But yeah, the under pressure stuff, I mean, it's about as bad as it gets on tape in this class. Like, in terms of the how erratic that he can be.
But there are some wow throws under pressure.
There is, but that's when he's actually making a quick decision about how to handle the pressure. When he allows himself to be in the pocket under pressure, the pocket movement just doesn't really exist a lot of the time on tape for me. It's really only when he's escaping. Panicky. He escapes quickly. He'll do it. But when he can't do that right away, he starts to just kind of unravel, unfortunately. And he's a young player who hasn't played a ton of reps. Like, that's probably going to happen for a lot of guys in that situation. The problem is he going to get better at that by playing more reps, or is he going to get better at that by sitting? Because he's probably going to have to sit depending on where he goes, right? At least for a little while. But if he goes like a Rams, he's not going to play next year at all. So you really won't know how he's going to handle pressure until he actually gets out there, which that might be a whole disaster. So point is, he's a good prospect. I don't know if I would feel great about taking him in the first round, especially at the Steelers pick at 21 personally.
Mark, do you think there's any chance the Steelers actually do go the QB route? We're going to do the Aaron Rodgers conversation. We're going to do the Malik Willis free agency conversation. This is the first foray into who is the next Steelers starting quarterback. Do you think this is feasible? Because before the show, Shayne mentioned consensus mocks. If you still take all the consensus mocks, Ty Simpson is the most frequently mocked player to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't see that. But do you feel like that's an actual move they'd make?
I mean, when I listened to Shayne and you, Josh, describe some of the flaws with Simpson, it sounds like they'd be drafting because they need a quarterback, not because they believe in a quarterback. And those are two very different things. I think that, yes, it was a different regime to a certain extent, right? Obviously Kevin Colbert is not here anymore, but the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett in part because there was a need at QB, and he wanted to end his regime on a high note in that sense. I don't think Omar Khan and Andy Weidel are going to feel the need to do that. Now, if Ty Simpson comes in and, aces all of his interviews and proves to them that
I think he will
be there, that he can be their QB of the future, then maybe. But I have a hard time seeing it. I think there's bigger needs at wide receiver, and this is a deeper wide receiver class. I think even just based on need alone, we'll get to, you know, Isaac Seumalo, but obviously he's leaving. So you could look at guys like Vega for Penn State. There's a number of players who I think will be higher on their board. And I think the Steelers are in a place right now where they're probably going to take as close to the best player on their board than drafting for need, you know?
Shayne, do you feel the same way? And we can pivot to like players to watch at the combine.
Yeah, I do just think that realistically, I don't think that they want to take a swing at quarterback in a draft class that just frankly doesn't have a lot of guys that are worth taking a swing on. Like, I do think, again, if you ask me right now, if I had to draft a quarterback that I thought might be at 21, it would be Simpson, just because I think he's the best of the bunch beyond for Mendoza right now. But I wouldn't feel great about it. Like, I just wouldn't. I don't think it's the right setup for him to probably have success long term. They need to wait until someone who either has way more upside than Simpson has, or is a more experienced player that also shown enough to be a franchise starting quarterback while at the college level to come around. And I think that would be much more likely next year.
So then for you, players to watch at the combine, other positions, other guys that might test well, could be on the Steelers' radar. Like, does anyone, who are you going to be most focused on as we get into this week?
So there's a couple receivers for sure, obviously, and that's kind of where I think the conversation has to start with this team because of the need there, obviously. I don't know how many of the top guys are going to do all the testing is part of the problem, where, like, I don't know how many we'll see run the 40, obviously, not that that's a big indicator, honestly, for me, or do the agility testing and all that good stuff. But assuming that some of the guys do, like, I'm very curious to see what Kevin Concepcion out of Texas A&M looks like, what KC as he likes to be called. I like him. He's my wide receiver too currently.
He's your Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes, Emmanuel Sanders comp is what I have on him. But I think how fast is he? Like, how explosive is he actually? Because on tape, looks like a 4.3 guy, right? Just does.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to test that way. And if he doesn't, that could end up actually hurting him a little bit, I think, because he is a guy that's very predicated on his movement skills and how quick he's able to move in and out of his breaks. And not that that's going to change just because he doesn't test a certain way, but that could affect him a little bit for sure. A guy that is gaining a lot of steam that I thought I was going to be the high man on for a while, and then that quickly changed, is kind of funny. Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Technically other, but not really, in my opinion, wide receiver out of Indiana. If he tests really well, which I think he could start getting more and more first round conversation around him. And I think a lot of people already are at that point with him. You're starting to see him in a lot of first round mocks at the back end of the first round. Could he be in play at 21, depending on how the receivers play out? Maybe. I wouldn't hate it just from what I know about him already. He's currently wide receiver 6 for me. I don't think he's going to end up there. I think he's going to probably move up a couple spots depending on what we see from him the rest of the process. If he tests really well, though, like I said, he could start to be a fast riser kind of guy for sure.
Mark, who do you have your eyes on as we head into the combine?
I mean, really, to your point, Josh, this whole wide receiver class, I want to see who separates themselves. Because I think right now, everyone's got their wide receiver 1 through 6, 7, whatever, but that could flip at this combine based on who does what and how they test in those scenarios. I would love if the Steelers could somehow get their hands on Mekhi Lemon. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that would be
been my dream since midway through.
Dream scenario, but I saw that on stillcurtain.com actually, because I was thinking the same thing, and then I saw it on stillcurtain.com, and I was like, oh my God, simpatico.
We have some fans for sure of him.
But like best case scenario, his comp is like Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's at least what I've read. I think if he tests well, there's really no way the Steelers get their hands on him.
Unless they
if some of his measurement, I mean, I think either way they'd probably have to trade up a bit. But if his measurements are or his 40-yard dash time, whatever, if he struggles in that sense, maybe he starts to go down some draft boards and guys jump him a little bit. That could potentially get into trade up territory for the Steelers. So that's one. I already mentioned Vega at Penn State, I think, with the Isaac.
Should we all try it?
Oh man, I'm terrified.
Again, I'm going to say Vega.
Vega, Iwonye, I think.
Okay.
Yoonye? Okay.
Ionia? I don't
believe
know.
It's
I covered
Ione.
Penn State.
We're gonna get ripped to shreds when this comes out now.
Ione is how I believe you say it.
We're gonna need Shayne to edit this out.
But that's fine.
I think she just nailed it and we glossed over. I think he just nailed it.
Ione is how I believe you say it.
Well done, Shayne. Well done, Shayne. But yes,
I've said his name a couple times on multiple shows that I've done, so it's a thing.
He's a guy draft
for sure. Yeah, well, yeah. But he's a guy for sure, Mark, that is worth bringing up here because I don't know if he's going to test a lot because he is a guy that's more of the thicker build, like true, just like stalwart kind of guard. But he moves well enough, in my opinion, to kind of play in any scheme. I think as a power guy, like he's obviously going to thrive in that sense. But especially in pass protection, good luck getting through this guy. Like if you don't find a way to get him off balance and get one of his shoulders, he's just going to stall you right at the line. Like the amount of times where I'd see somebody just full power, like speed to power, try to do that to him off the line, and just get nowhere. I was like, man, this is the Big Ten. Like this is not just like, oh, you're playing Northern Iowa or something like that. Like he's stalling Big Ten defensive linemen from the start. Like he's impressive for sure in that regard.
Yeah, and I mean with like Siamalu being a free agent as well, he has like a 9 to 10. I think Spotrac has him around 9 to 10 million per year is their value, I guess, prediction. If Vega's there, I'm just gonna stick to first name. If he's there at the Steelers pick, I think he'd be top of their board, best pick available, and I'd be totally fine with that because I do trust the Steelers to take non-tackles. I trust the Steelers to take. I mean,
they're 1 for 2 on tackles.
They're 1 for 2.
Yeah. But it's still
definitely guard. Like that's a guy you take because you know he's going to be there for 10 years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And I'd be perfectly fine with that. It very much shores up the offensive line. I feel good about a lot of what they already have there too, and I know Andy Weidel loves to build up front. So that's a guy I'm watching. A worst case scenario guy I'm watching that I want to bring up. And I've been hearing this one really since Mike McCarthy was hired. Is about his connection to Grant Nussmeier and about Grant Nussmeier saying how much he'd want to play for a Mike McCarthy coach team. And I do not think that the Steelers will do that. But in FanSided.com's most recent mock, Cody Williams had the Steelers trading up in the 3rd round to get Grant Nussmeier. No. It's not that bad.
I was about to say 1st round Garrett Nussmeier.
No. So this is day 2. I just like I'm okay with that one, but
that would still be a little early for me.
Just feels early. I don't really see it. So I'll be curious to see how he does at the combine and if there's any like rumblings about that whole his dad coached under McCarthy in Dallas, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So
Doug,
he's
right?
Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Saints now, I think. If I'm not
so like that's just a small little nugget that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. But definitely Vega, definitely Mekhi Lemon, and potentially
Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah.
I guess Denzel Boston here.
Oh, Denzel Boston
maybe is another wideout that. I mean, Cody just mocked us to get him as well, so I'm stealing that from him. But I'm curious. Also curious what you guys think of him as a route runner, because from what I've read, he's not going to blow the doors off anyone in terms of like pure speed. But he's 6'4", he's a big body. So
he's an interesting guy for me. So he's right now receiver 5. He might get passed by Cooper soon, but that wouldn't necessarily change my evaluation of Boston. Would just change my evaluation of Cooper a little bit. But he to me, like ideally he's your second best wide receiver and is the pure X for your offense, right? Like he's kind of the step up from like I view guys who are X's that would be your number 3 receivers, like sacrificial X's. I've said on this show before. It's kind of my how I view those guys. Like, yeah, just go play X. We'll throw you some balls sometimes. You're really there just so someone has to play X, right? Like just go figure it out, right?
That's your Malachi Fields.
Exactly. And like he's good at that. I don't
he's better than that.
Right, but I don't see the 1st round stuff with Fields, but we've talked about that. But beside the point, he would be a guy that I think if you took him at 21, I don't think it would be a reach by any means, but I do think you're kind of getting into that like late 1st round type of receiver for me personally. The route running I think is good enough for his size. Like I think he can separate well enough for someone who isn't a speedster, and he does have some build up speed. Once he gets down the field, he can not run away from people necessarily, but separate enough to not have to like always go up for a contested catch in those situations. He does have some positional versatility. He did play in the slot some for them. He's returned punts on it. Like, he has enough of the movement skills to not just be one of those stiff as a board. Like, I don't really want to bag on this guy even more than he's already been bagged on, but Keon Coleman type, where he's just like not really much going on there for some reason.
Oh boy.
So like, I do think he's a better prospect than like that type of player, for example. So wouldn't hate it. Would fit with DK because DK's not a true X as much as you'd think he would be with his size, but not my favorite probably pick there overall.
I generally feel the same about him. The wide receiver class is like what I'm watching. Obviously, Lemon has been my dream for a while, and it's just
he's receiver for me, by the way.
I've let that ship sail. Like, he could run a 4.8, and I'd still draft him in the top 10. I love it.
It doesn't really change his evaluation.
It doesn't matter. That's not what he is as a player, and like he plays with real speed.
He does,
and like it's fine. He's awesome, and I think he's a top 10 pick. The top of this wide receiver class, like Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, like I feel like that's fairly solidified with Lemon as like a top 3.
He's third for me, but honestly, like you could flip him.
Lemon.
Concepcion. Yeah, Concepcion is third. Like you could flip those two. They're different players, obviously. Like I kind of tend to skew more towards the type of receiver that Concepcion is.
Yeah.
But Lemon is probably going to be like the more productive player because of the role that he's going to fill. Like he is a true like target hog, like slot monster type of player that I think has really gotten popular in the NFL over the last few years. So no problems with anyone taking him as a second receiver out the board. I do think Tate should be the first one, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. Like after that, you kind of get into like,
I think he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. So
yeah. Is there one of these wideouts in this? Oh, sorry, Josh.
No, I was just gonna say on Concepcion, just a small note. I'm interested to see him run the gauntlet. Like I don't care so much about the 40. I actually care about the gauntlet. How well you can hold your line, how well you can maintain your speed. I think Concepcion will do really well in that drill. That just kind of feels like the type of player he is with like some body control and a lot of speed. I also on Garrett Nussmeier, Mark, I don't love it. He's a flawed player, even if he wasn't hurt all last year, but I want to see if the horsepower's back. Like if
that's
I don't know if he's throwing, but he's the most interesting throwing session possible because his every metric possible was down. And this year in terms of RPMs and miles per hour and whatever, everything on his throws, he was like bottom of the FBS, which he should not be there. Not an amazing arm, but he's got a good arm when he's healthy. So he kind of said he had that core issue. And then he got into bad habits because he was trying to like throw differently, and then it just really all fell apart, and he ended up getting benched. He's better than that, and if he looks like he did 2 years ago, all of a sudden, okay, I'm interested. Late day 2, like I don't love. It still feels a little bit rich, but it's quarterback, so like take a swing, man. Like I don't know. We spent a 3rd round pick on Caleb Johnson. That doesn't mean that was good, but like.
I wish it was. But we will never know.
I wish it was. He's a good player. I still think he's a good player. But I just mean like it didn't. That's not the that 3rd round pick not being something isn't the reason the Steelers didn't win the Super Bowl this year. Like
certainly not.
There's some give or take with a 3rd round pick where you can take a chance. So those guys I'm interested in. Like there are some other. Chris Bell from Louisville is somebody I'm interested to see how he runs.
Well, he's really I don't know. I don't think is he going to test because he tore his ACL. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
So I don't think I don't think that was long enough ago that he.
No, I think it was late season. You're right.
Yeah. So
his
I would
name
love
just
to see
jumps up
too.
Yeah,
he's a fun one.
He's a monster. So I don't. For the fun of the combine, and we can kind of move on a little bit to what we're seeing for the mock drafts and whatnot and team needs. Sonny Styles, like he's testing. Yeah. It sounds like he's testing, that's just must watch. Like Freaks List, Bruce Feldman. He broad jumped 11 feet. Yeah, he broad jumped 11 feet, 40-inch vertical, squatted 675 pounds at Ohio State. Hit about 23 miles an hour in practice. Like he's a linebacker, not safe. Kind of like can be a bit of a hybrid player. He's the Eman Wari of this year in terms of just he'll be the testing freak. And so he'll be fun to watch and was awesome in that defense for Ohio State. We can kind of pivot now, not necessarily away from the combine, but Mark, I know you wanted to talk about like the mock drafts we're seeing, and Shayne, you mentioned that Ty Simpson is still like the consensus guy. We don't really feel like that's the case.
Yeah. Most commonly mocked player, at least.
The most commonly mocked. Yeah.
That's according to mock draft database. If you go, so they kind of collect mock drafts from all over the place, including Still Curtains mocks and everywhere else. They kind of just collect them all and kind of put them all into one database, and gives you a good idea of like what the most up to date like player that's getting mocked most frequently in the first round is. So,
and so I just don't see the Simpson thing. I think the Rodgers thing is going to drag out, and we're going to do that again. But Mark, are there any first round targets that have been jumping out to you that you've been intrigued by, interested in? I know you mentioned Vega. Anything else in terms of need, position, whatever, anything you hate?
I have seen a lot of kind of secondary shout outs for the first round. I understand it. I don't think I'd want that in the first round if it were my ideal, best case scenario. So that's the one I'd suggest maybe staying away from. I saw I think it was Terrell out of Clemson was someone mocked to them a few times. Nothing against the player. I'm sure he's a first round pick. I just like when thinking about the Steelers team needs, I don't, yes, we need to get a safety in free agency. Yes, we probably need to rebuild some secondary depth, but unless there's a can't miss prospect at the end of that first round as a corner, I'd much rather spend it on this very deep wide receiver class, because we haven't had a wide receiver 2 in how many years are we going on now? 2, 3?
Yeah, when was the year that we traded Deontay Johnson? 23.
Yeah. It's just the fact that we have to think about it is not a good thing.
Yeah, like an actual legit wide receiver 2. Even that year was kind of.
And I'm not saying reach for a wide receiver 2, but I do feel like this is the kind of year where you probably wouldn't have to reach for a wide receiver 2. So like, what are we doing?
Maybe I think every wide receiver 1 pretty quickly too. By the way,
I think every wide receiver class is just going to be good, like forever. And
kind of feels like it.
That's not a unique take. Like that's not necessarily my original idea, but it just, with the way talent has shifted to that position and away from running back, and like there are all these million different factors, 7-on-7 and everything. It's just every wide receiver draft is going to be loaded. And I don't think you're missing out on surplus value taking one in the first round, even if he's the 6th best wide receiver in that class. Often that just works out. So, Shayne, is there anything you're seeing that is sticking out to you? We're still early.
I mean, I think it is funny. Like if you go for the past week, right? So because I'm on NFL mock draft database. If you guys want to check that site out, it does have some stuff that's definitely worth checking out there. Right now, they have Simpson as the most common over the past week, and then it is a tie between Denzel Boston, Mekhi Lemon, and Kevin Concepcion. All have been mocked 6 times over the past week. So it's literally like receiver probably, and then, hey, maybe Ty Simpson is pretty much what the actual consensus is overall. If you're looking at it from like positional standpoint, definitely receiver is the most commonly drafted position, which makes a ton of sense. And you talked about it, Mark. Corner and safety is certainly something that you'll see sometimes too. I've not gotten to corners and safeties, so I can't say personally whether I like any of them in particular for the Steelers if they did go that direction. But Terrell, you mentioned, just from a size profile, it doesn't really fit what they normally go for. He is going to be one of the smaller corners in the draft. Not that I necessarily personally care about that, but if we're just going off of how the Steelers operate, probably not their type. But yeah, I mean, I could see them deciding that if that's the best player on the board in their mind to go safety or corner, because I do hear a lot of good things about, especially the safety class actually, which boy knows we need a good safety class. It feels like it's been a while since we've had a great safety class. So I could see it, but I wouldn't bank on it being a non-offensive position, at least, if nothing else.
Yeah, on those secondary guys, like a lot of the safeties I like as second rounders. Like I think that's where the depth certainly shows up, and that's a positional value thing. But I also think it's an evaluation thing. At corner, I would just generally stay away from most of the first round options. I like Delane out of LSU, Mansour Delane, but I think he's going to be gone probably in all likelihood. Jermon McCoy, that scares me coming off the ACL. He missed all
tough
because
he didn't play at all last year, but like his 2024 tape, from what I've heard, is just
it was awesome.
Kind of bonkers.
He was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I would, if they did it, I think we're all a little bit scarred of like still Artie Burns scars that we're wearing a little bit of like Tomlin never really got the
corner down,
never really developed that position particularly well, which is odd given his background as defensive backs coach and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's receiver or like it just doesn't make sense. The offensive line option.
That's the other one.
Yeah.
They've poured so many resources there.
That's the issue. Is like, do you really want to use another first round pick on a lineman? Like, not that that's ever really a bad thing most of the time.
Yeah.
But it is a lot. Like, I even wrote an article that came out today about like if they're gonna try to bring in a tackle, like they should go on like a bargain bin situation, like a Braxton Jones who was hurt last year.
Yeah,
he could probably be had for cheap to compete for left tackle or whatever. Bring back Siamalo because he's not going to be that expensive overall. Like whatever. That's probably a better use of resources than using a high pick. But if they do hit on another pick on the offensive line, this line might be really, really good. So then you have to weigh that as part of it too. So
yeah, that's where I'm torn on it because it just feels like a lot. Yeah. But if you missed on Broderick and you missed on Broderick,
you did.
Yeah,
you missed.
Like you kind of need to. Like it's justifiable. So that's where I'm torn a little bit, and it's just going to come down to how the board actually falls on that day,
for sure,
between receiver and offensive line. But I'm not going to hate it if they go Vega or whatever. I will hate. I saw a mock. I think it was a CBS one today. That was Caden Proctor.
Yep.
I'll hate that type of swing. Like I don't want to go boomer bust kind of offensive line tackle, probably a tackle. But I've also seen people say it has to like move inside because the speed's an issue, and like
he either has to play lighter or probably gonna be better as a guard. And like that's my evaluation. I don't hate Proctor as a prospect overall.
No,
like,
me neither. But I hate it as a pick for the Steelers.
But as a tackle, I wouldn't take him until day 2. If he's if you're just saying like we're gonna play him somewhere, and we'll figure out wherever's best for him to play, I'd be willing to take him in the back end of the first as just got to take a shot on. Not necessarily purely as like, oh, wait, he's our left tackle of future. I'm like, too many guys that look like him and play like him don't do good. I'm sorry. Like I get there's potential there, but I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah. How many of the monstrous and if you don't not in on Caden Proctor and everything, 6'7", 366 pounds. Like he got down to 366. So Kalen DeBoer in Alabama threw him a pass as a reward for losing enough weight to get under 370. Like that was a real story that happened this year.
I know.
That's how massive this guy is. And like, there's something to that natural size. He's a freaks list guy too, where like he's an absurd athlete. They threw him a pass and it worked because he's a freak.
He didn't look too bad. That's why I think if he can get down to like, I mean, just give me like 340, man. Can you play a 340? You could play if you could play a 340, you're right. But if he could, like, if he weighed in today and he was 345 pounds, I'd be like, all right, maybe I can, I can, we'll have to watch the tape of the combine maybe more than anything else. Because like that's a whole different dude than the one that just played at Alabama if that's his weight. Do I think that's going to be the case? No, but that would be awesome. I'd feel a lot better about it because I just see a lot of like the Mekhi Becton issues and that type of stuff. Like he had to play guard and then ended up only being good in Philadelphia where everyone pretty much is good. So like, I don't know. It's tough.
It scares me a lot.
Yeah.
Same.
So as we pivot here, we have to, this is all kind of framed by the man that for some reason the Steelers and Mike McCarthy are seemingly hold them hostage for yet another season after another first round exit and not all that inspiring play in his early 40s. Aaron Rodgers, where are we at with Rodgers seemingly like maybe having some cold feet about retiring, cold feet about coming back to the Steelers? Like where are we at with this?
I mean, this either feels like I don't believe him is the first thing I'll say, I guess.
Whatever thing he says,
ever
I
really,
agree.
Yeah. You should just not believe him. I feel like that's it's a safe bet. I don't know, like he hasn't really been this way in Pittsburgh, but it does kind of feel like a weird leverage play, kind of. Like, is he just like saying that he doesn't want to come back to maybe get something, or to maybe like have them bring back MVS.
What more does he want, man?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
what more can we?
Or maybe he just wants more attention. Like,
we know he wants more
I don't know. I don't.
We know that.
Yeah, I'm not fully. I don't buy it that he's having cold feet. Like, I think he still wants to play, and I think he'll probably want to play here once he realizes what his options really are. But yeah, I don't know. I think it feels kind of like a leverage play for like the rest of the NFL to a certain extent. Like, I wouldn't say necessarily for the Steelers because the Steelers are going to give them what they're going to give them, which is a lot, not money wise, but like, just like in terms of resources. But I could see it as a leverage play, like, hey, just in case there's anyone else interested in me, I'm open. Like, Vikings. Hey, Vikings. Hey, Kevin O'Connell.
It's the Vikings. Let's be real. That's who he's probably angling towards. I can only say it so many times until it actually happens, because then I won't have to say it anymore. But like, this is so entirely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much everything to do with the McCarthy situation to begin with, but then also like there even being a thought of bringing back Aaron Rodgers, considering where he was at the end of the season and where this team is at, is just completely irresponsible, in my opinion. Like, there's no benefit to bring back a guy that at best is like the 20th best quarterback in the NFL when he's going to be 43 in the middle of next year. There's no benefit to doing that, because he's not going to get you where you want to go. And he might prevent you from getting where you need to go, which is not that good, realistically. Mm-hmm. That's what you need. That's the direction you need to probably be going, so that you can be good at some point. He will probably prevent that. But I don't even know that for sure at this point. But he at least has more of a chance of doing that than he does of actually getting this team to compete for anything. I'd much rather take either a big swing, which we'll talk about free agents in a little bit here for this team, take a swing on someone else, one in particular that I'm sure we'll talk a good bit about here in a minute. Or, I mean, at this point, as much as I would hate the discourse surrounding it, throw Will Howard out there and tell him good luck. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Because like, what's the harm in that, realistically? Like, if he's as good as apparently Mike McCarthy and the rest of the team seems to think he could be, they'll probably just do just about as well anyway. Or if he is bad, then they know that and they're like, all right, cool, let's just draft quarterback next year. It's not, there's really not a lot of downside there, in my opinion, realistically. But they're not going to probably do that because that would be too easy. So
I almost can't believe that an NFL franchise that isn't like the Browns or the Jaguars or whoever, and like, okay, the Jaguars were in a much better spot than the Steelers, but historically,
now especially,
yeah. That a real legit NFL franchise that has trophies in its trophy case is this desperate for what Rodgers gave last season. Like, how can you not, as an organization, recognize how limiting he is as a player? Like, he's okay, serviceable, but tremendously limiting. We talked about it so much, but just happy feet under pressure. He won't stand in the pocket, won't let things develop, won't throw over the middle, which is also a him thing. It's not just a Mike Tomlin thing. Those dudes were in lockstep about a lot of stuff, and also about that because Rodgers doesn't want to rack up, like, he's not turning the ball over, which was good when he could create explosives with the flick of a wrist. That's not there really anymore. And a lot of those came out of structure, which he doesn't have anymore. So it's frankly bananas to me that they're actually willing to wait this out. Just say goodbye, because it's like they're just scared to admit what they are, which is the same reason they hired Mike McCarthy. They're not a contender. They haven't been a contender for years. That's not going to change with Aaron Rodgers. That's not going to change with this draft class. That's not going to change without a couple years. It doesn't have to be a couple years. This stuff doesn't have to take too long in the NFL, but you have to admit it. Like, you have to be willing to take some dead cap hits, to get some draft capital, to like really turn it over, be intentional about it. And they're just never going to do it. They're going to continue to kick the can down the road. And I actually like can't even believe that we're in a situation where Mike McCarthy is the Steelers head coach and he's probably going to bring back Aaron Rodgers for another season. Like, I actually can't fathom that that's the reality for this organization. It's depressing as hell.
It makes me think that I like accidentally stepped through like a wormhole into like 2014. And I'm like, what's going on right now? Why is Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers playing football together right now? Like but that's probably what's going to happen. Like, if we're being honest about it, they can say like, oh, we're not sure. There's different reports about whatever. It's like, realistically, if the Steelers are actually going to let him wait it out, especially now, if what I've heard and what a lot of people are saying is like, well, they have a deadline and it's free agency, so they can pivot if they have to. I just simply don't believe that until it happens, because why should I believe that about them? It was June last year. I had to talk about that man and speculate about his future for months because he wouldn't just sign. Because like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
He had to get married.
What? Yeah, sure, man. Great. Like, whatever. If he really needs,
you can't possibly get married while on an NFL team.
Impossible. Never happened before.
Can't do it.
The problem is, if they do let him do that, obviously there's a lot of problems with it. One, you don't have the option to go after anyone else, because if you do, it means that he's not coming here, which they clearly want him to. And two, like, it's a charade. Like, what's the point of this? Like, you're gonna know if you want to play football soon, and if you don't, then that means you don't know well enough. If you want to play football, you don't need to be the quarterback for us then.
Yeah. Why does he have this leverage?
I don't.
His name. It's his name value.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And it's not even that they're like, oh, they just think I think they legitimately just still think he's Aaron Rodgers, and he's not. Like, this is not the Aaron Rodgers that I grew up watching, that most people that are my age grew up watching. This is not the same guy. No. And there was a long time where, at least on the football field, there weren't many people that were bigger fans of Aaron Rodgers than me. Let me just put it that way. He's not the same guy, and he hasn't been for a long time. So there's no point in doing this, but they're going to. And this will be a story until it's not, basically. And it's going to come down to whether he wants to play or not whether the Steelers want him to, because we know they want him to. He has to decide if he wants to be the quarterback of this team. And I assume he's going to say yes at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just like, so at Mike McCarthy's press conference, he made this whole point about how, like, he and some of his, coaching buddies or whatever, like, yeah, he took last year off, but he was still watching film and he watched every Steelers game. What did he watch in every Steelers game that made him think that he could bring out 2014 Aaron Rodgers? Like, I just like two totally different players. Like, Aaron wasn't like horrible last year, but he's horrible for Aaron Rodgers standards. So two very different, like, I don't know, man. I feel like Aaron Rodgers has to take a step back, do his own research, and make a decision. I'm just going to say it like that.
Oh, man. How great would it be if they just actually recognized what the player was and moved on? And because even if I grant you that the best version of this year's Steelers team is with Aaron Rodgers over any of the other options, which could very well be true.
Yeah, I think that's true, actually. But, like, what's the point?
Don't, because you can pay Malik Willis. But
we're going to talk about that in a minute here.
What in the holy hell is the point of that when all of your players are just a year older and weren't remotely close to being competitive in the playoffs last year?
But we have a different Mike. And we have Patrick Graham, a defensive coordinator, who I do like, but is probably not like a top 10 defensive coordinator. So, like, it doesn't matter.
We have a different Mike, got me.
It's different. It's different, Josh. Don't you see?
Oh, my God. I thought there was no way it would be the same this year. And it's the freaking same again. Unless.
It's honestly impressive at this point that they managed to do it.
Unless. As we jump into our free agent primer.
Yes. Yeah. Nice
unless they sign your boy. Shayne, I'll cede the floor to you for a little bit of Malik Willis talk, because it seems like they're actually maybe an option and probably from his perspective the best one.
Maybe. So here's the thing, right? There's two issues with the Malik Willis conversation right now for a lot of people that are having it and teams are having it. And I'm having it on two sides because the Dolphins are also a team that are probably interested in him as well.
Yeah.
There's two things you have to kind of work through with him. One is what his price is ultimately going to be, because there is going to be multiple teams, from what it seems like, who are going to target him. And we know that when that happens, and when it's a quarterback, despite one who does not have a lot of experience in the NFL, yes, the price is only going to go up the more teams that get involved, realistically. And because of the dearth of talent in the draft this year for the most part, and the fact that there's a lot of teams looking to either change quarterbacks or just don't have one to begin with, his market is naturally going to go up. Now, does that mean it's going to be something ridiculous necessarily? For me, at least, probably not. I think that it's going to settle in somewhere between, right now, I'd say between $30 and $35 million a year, but for a short-term deal. So nothing like ridiculous. It's not going to be the Daniel Jones, like 4 years, $160 million that he signed with the Giants a couple years ago, and nothing like that. It's just going to be an upgraded version of like the Fields deal with the Jets, like what that looked like. And I think it's justifiable because, and this is the second point, is the sample size is the other problem with Malik Willis. He started 3 games with the Packers, played in a few others, and then kind of stepped in for Love for different reasons and others. But those tapes, if you watch every throw that he made as a Packer, your only real takeaway is this dude rocks. Like that's just what it is. He rocks. Like his numbers from an efficiency standpoint, from a raw total standpoint in those 3 starts, and again some other play in there from other games. It's some of the best you've seen in the past 2 years in the NFL. Like just straight up, it is. Like from an arm talent standpoint, from an accuracy standpoint, reading out defenses, the way that he moves as a player now, where he isn't erratic in the pocket like he was with the Titans. He actually will throw the football, even when he is running. He'll keep his eyes up and throw the football down the field. Like almost every trait you would want in a quarterback that has his skill set, as far as a runner, with his arm talent, he displayed it as a Packer. Does that mean he's going to be able to do it outside of that scheme? Not necessarily. But at some point, like when a guy is showing you the same thing over and over again, even in a small sample, that he knows what he's doing and he can see with the field, as long as he's with an offensive coordinator, which Mike McCarthy in this case with the offensive coordinator, who understands offense, and he does. I don't think he's a great offensive coordinator at this point in his career, but he's a good one. I don't see why he couldn't run an offense that McCarthy would be coaching, because it is a lot of the same type of stuff that he'd probably be already seeing with LaFleur. So to me, it would make a ton of sense for any team that has a competent offensive mind at the helm. And I do think the Steelers are now in that boat, even if I don't love the McCarthy hire overall. He just would make a lot of sense for any team in that situation, I think.
Mark, would you be willing, or is that too rich for you?
No, I mean I'm down. It's not my money.
Yeah, that's how you.
No, I mean, but like I think to Shayne's point, I think what really works about this isn't just the Green Bay connection. It's the short-term deal aspect of all of this. If he, for some reason, performs not that great next year, you're still a bit iffy. It does not stop you from taking a quarterback in a loaded QB class, hopefully for real this time.
Hopefully for real this time. That's the exactly. Hopefully for real.
But like, for like a 2-year, like 70 million or something, like I don't see a problem. I'm going to try and reverse jinx this into existence though, in that I don't think I think part of what the Rodgers thing that people aren't, I guess, discussing is how cheap he is. And we do have an owner that kind of skimps on various parts of his team. And so if you can get 43-year-old name brand Aaron Rodgers for, say, 15, 20 mil a year for 1 year, or you'd have to pay 35 mil per year for 2 years of a guy that you haven't heard of, I don't know.
It's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell to ownership. I think it's the correct choice.
If I was trying to compete, if I was trying to maximize my chances to compete this year with the quarterbacks that are currently available for the Pittsburgh Steelers, no one has the upside that Willis has. They straight up don't. He also, obviously, we've seen the lows with him with the Titans, so it's possible that he reverts to some of that. But again, I'm telling, for people who have not watched Malik Willis since his time with the Titans, or if you've never watched him at all, go back and even just the highlights. Like the highlights will display, like obviously the film is what you would prefer to watch, but not everybody.
There aren't a whole hell of a lot of lowlights though.
There just isn't like much going. Like everything you look at him with the Packers, there's a reason why some people, even Packers fans, have seen them talk about this. They kind of wonder if it might be better to just have him as a quarterback. And I'm not there with that. Like Love has played a lot more and he's been really good for them. But there's a reason why some fans of that team don't love the idea, ironically, of having Willis go because of what he's done for them when Love has been hurt. So that's all you really need to know.
And it's my whole thing with it that I don't know that he's going to be great.
Yeah,
I know if you're not willing to tear tear this team. It doesn't have to be tear it down to the studs.
No.
But make meaningful moves to shed salary, to get younger, to add draft capital, to do all those things that I think they needed to do. Take their medicine, in a sense.
Yes.
If you're not willing to do that, really the only way to hit any type of higher ceiling or smash through whatever ceiling that the first round ceiling that exists is a meaningful upgraded quarterback. Like sure, if you at 21 hit on the next TJ Watt, like, okay, maybe that changes things.
Yeah.
But realistically, outside of strokes of massive luck, the way to do it is to meaningfully change the upside at quarterback. And Malik Willis is the only path towards that this year. Even if that means you end up eating some dead money on the back of it and you're drafting again and it didn't work out. I don't care, because by then TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and everybody will certainly have aged out of being impactful players if TJ Watt hasn't done that already.
Haven't already.
Yeah, I won't lump Cam into that because he was still fantastic.
Cam was still he's great until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And okay, like that's fine. If it doesn't work out, that probably puts you in a good spot anyway. So if you're so adamant that you want to be competitive, this is really your path to it, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't change your ceiling. So I'm so into the idea. If it's possible, I'd be ecstatic about it. I don't really think that's because I'm so sold that Malik Willis can't miss, right? Like, I think it can go wrong. I see how it can go wrong. Absolutely. But the fact that you're taking that swing is really meaningful to me, and is kind of the only way you can change what path this team is on. So I'm really into it. If it's on the table at all, I think 35 over 3 years with some, heavy guarantees on the front, and like give yourself some outs in the third year. Perfect. Sign me up.
I personally think the deal that he's going to sign is going to look something along the lines of a 2-year, $70 million deal with $40 million guaranteed, with that first year pretty much fully guaranteed.
Sign me up.
Yeah. And then the back end is, some guarantees, but really it's like, if it's great, that'll be the last year of a deal before he gets extended further if he's really good, right? And I think it makes a lot of sense for Malik, because you get a really nice upfront payday right away. You kind of could cash out as like, if this is the end of your career, if it doesn't go well, or your last chance to get a big deal, you've made your money, right? Yeah. Like, I think it makes a ton of sense for him. It makes a ton of sense for teams. I do think, by the way, if I had to guess right now where he lands, and this might surprise some people, but I think it makes a lot more sense than people think it might. He might be a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah,
I would hate that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm so sorry for him.
Because you think about it right now, Shedeur Sanders did not show enough last year to guarantee that he should start next year.
Pro Bowler Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, too bad. Pro Bowlers don't mean anything.
The disrespect.
Unbelievable.
Ask Tyler Huntley what he's doing right now. And then obviously Dylan Gabriel, even less upside than Shedeur Sanders. They're not going to take a quarterback in this draft, at least not one that is worth starting as well. Yeah, Todd Monken did a really good job with a really athletic quarterback who can make a lot of things happen because of how good of an athlete he was. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at Malik Willis like, if you guys give me him, I might be able to make this offense good next year. Like, that's what he's going to sell them on that, I think, or at least he could be interested in something like that. Would I do that if I was Malik Willis? No, but they might be like, hey, you have we are going to give you if they were willing to give him like a 2-year deal that's fully guaranteed or something crazy, which, hey, we've already given him a 5-year guarantee. 5-year deal is
might as well.
Why not? They're about to get off the Watson deal finally, maybe, sort of. It wouldn't be surprising to me if that's where he lands.
Yeah, I think they'd have to give him that third year, maybe.
Maybe that's the difference.
Might have to go to 3 years.
I think somebody's gonna have to. There are too many suitors.
If not them, I think it could be Cardinals after they get rid of Murray too. Would make sense.
I think that would make sense.
Is Michael Fleur being there? Obviously connection with. So
there are a lot more like QB dominoes, and we can kind of get into that. Obviously, the league year begins March 11th, and the contact period for free agency March 9th. So we're like still a little bit early on the free agent stuff. But the other thing, there are some other angles we kind of wanted to hit. The Steelers are looking like they're going to have about 40-ish million in cap space
without any other moves.
Yeah, without any other moves. There could be other moves.
There better be.
there better be other moves. Of the 27 players set to hit free agency, Adam Thielen was 28, but he's announcing his retirement. He announced his retirement. Is there anyone that you guys have your sights set on? Like, they got to try to get that guy to come back here.
There's 4 names that I had listed down. None of them are like truly like they better, except for I think one, just because of how good he was last year. The first one you have to say is Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
Like he just was really, really good for this team, especially the back half last year. I think if you aren't going to play Caleb Johnson a lot next year, which it doesn't seem like they're going to based on everything I know about McCarthy's offense, I would bring Kenneth Gainwell back just to have that insurance for Warren, as well as just have someone to pair with him, right? It already worked pretty well last year, especially because unfortunately we assume Aaron Rodgers can be the quarterback for this team. We know how much he likes Kenneth Gainwell. Unfortunately, that could play a part as well. I think Siamalu does deserve some, like, I know we kind of assuming that he's going to be gone, but like, I don't necessarily think he should be if they can get back for similar, because he signed an $8 million per year deal to begin with. If his price has only gone up by a little bit, I'm good with that. It'll technically be cheaper per year if it's around 9 to 10 in terms of the actual cap percentage that he takes up. So I would certainly be interested in bringing him back for another year. James Pierre, I feel like played too well last year not to come back too on like a legitimate deal of some kind, not anything crazy, but something worth actually.
Like he's an NFL player,
Like he is an actual like part of the rotation corner at least, if not outright starting for this team maybe next year again.
Yeah.
And then as part of that, I think Asante Samuel Jr. played well in this limited snaps he played. So if you can get him back for cheap as insurance there too, that would just alleviate some of the concerns about needing to draft a corner early, right? So,
Mark. Any names?
I was going to say, I should not have let Shayne go first. He went straight through. No, I'm in on Kenny for sure. I think even, the Rodgers opinion, I don't even care. Get that out of here.
He's a good player.
Gainwell was team MVP, even if I somewhat disagree with that.
It's a great trivia question in 10 years.
Very good player.
Awesome trivia question.
Very good player. I would, if, I guess depending how the draft goes, if they don't get a guard early, I think Siamalu at $9.5 million, if that is actually his market price, is fine.
There are some other good guards.
No, I'm just kidding. I was just gonna. The only thing I would add is that there's a lot of players on this list. Safeties, corners, whatever. I know that Shayne mentioned a James Pierre. I think he'd be great opposite JPJ next year, hopefully. And he can play all over the place. I think if they brought back one of the 3 safeties that are currently, I'd be okay with that, just for depth.
Yeah,
just for depth, because they have like nobody if all 3 of those guys leave. And I understand that they can sign and draft guys, but I'd like some turnover, just like a little bit of turnover.
Yeah.
So there are some other like guard options on the free agent market. It looks like a fairly deep free agent market this year.
Relatively.
So, like it's not like super top heavy with stars, but like it's fairly good. I wouldn't like Siamalu or other vet. I'm fine with. Whether if they just like go in a different direction, or the Siamalu gets paid somewhere else and they pay somebody else. But generally I wouldn't go into next year with like Spencer Anderson slotted in at left guard. That doesn't seem like a good answer to me.
He's a 6 offensive lineman for sure.
And
which is
at
fine.
it, but that's a totally fine way to make a living. So my other question, I guess I have 2. And since we're talking about the team right now, I'll stay on this. Are there any cut candidates for either of you to get that number bigger? Because I have one, and I'm assuming this name's going to get mentioned.
If Jonnu Smith is still on this football team by the time free agency starts, I simply can't. The Steelers could do a lot of things to me this offseason, including the things they've already done. That would make me upset. Employing Jonnu Smith beyond the start of the new league year is one of the few things they could do where I could actually like make me tell them that they're brain dead on like a live show or any sort of program, because that is ridiculous if he's still on this team. You cannot pay a tight end who's at best your 3rd tight end on the roster currently $11 million or whatever it is this year. Simply can't do it. No reason to do it. Especially when you could save a significant amount of the money that he's getting paid by cutting him. It'd be different if like it was like a dead cap hit and it's like, all right, whatever. Like, oh, we'll actually lose money doing it. Like he could just hang out for a year and we'll let him go, whatever. No, like you save a lot of money by cutting him outright. So please do that. And that's the most obvious one. There's other ones, but I'll let someone else go because I had to throw Johnny Smith out there right away.
Yeah. I'm going to throw in Malik Harrison. I think that's kind of an under the radar one, but I've seen him mentioned, and I think you save somewhere between four and five, right? Which I know isn't a ton, but before we get to the bigger names, I did want to throw in a smaller one because I feel like the bigger ones are going to take over conversation as they should.
Yeah. So if you release Patrick Queen, and Johnny Smith, you're to 63 million in cap space, something like that. Yeah, according to Spotrac.
Sounds right.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, please do that. Actually,
I don't like. I think Patrick Queen, actually, by the end of last year, was kind of playing maybe the best he has as a Steeler. Like he had some games where I was like, okay, all right, I see it a little bit more, and that's a position that you can definitely age into. Where it's an intelligence-based position more than an athleticism-based position. So, like, veterans can hang on a lot longer. I can't justify paying him what the Steelers are paying him in the final. He's heading into the final year of his deal. It's about a $3 million dead cap hit, but like a $17 million savings. That's just too much money. Like that. Maybe that's your left guard. Maybe that's, some extra Malik Willis money, whatever.
You could cut him and sign a really actually good linebacker like Devin Lloyd. Or honestly, Leo Chenal might be a better linebacker than Patrick Queen 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason with the linebackers on the market this year. There's no justification to employ a guy who at best is probably like someone who should be your linebacker 2, if not linebacker 3. Like that's Patrick Queen to me.
Yeah.
There's no reason to pay that guy $17 million to be your linebacker 1 when you have guys that are in free agency that can actually be that potentially, or at least fill the role that he should be filling, which is a like run and chase, like run first player, because we know he can't cover anybody. So like that, and which is insane to me that he can't, but that's beside the point. You could pay someone less money to be better than him at almost everything he's good at this offseason if you wanted to. So you absolutely should move on from him. So
that's the big one for me. Jonnu is like an obvious one.
Yeah, it's almost too obvious. Yeah,
and if it doesn't happen, like
again, like what are we doing? What's the point?
Yeah, it's malpractice. I would definitely like them to move on from Patrick Queen. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so. He's more likely to get extended, in my opinion, which is insane.
That terrifies me.
But it's possible.
I think so too. We could maybe talk like extensions. We'll save extensions for another show because there's a good crop of guys from, especially that one draft class, the Broderick Jones draft class, ironically, that are due for money and deserve
unbelievable.
Unbelievable scenes.
The other question outside of Malik Willis in free agency that is worth kind of talking about, because I feel like we talk about the wide receiver position so much as a draft thing. Could they be finding their wide receiver 2 in free agency and just pay up for somebody? Is there somebody that you guys like or would be interested in? Alec Pierce, Romeo Dobbs, like those are kind of the top names, but there are some other veterans in there that could be in the mix as well.
I wrote about Romeo Dobbs today.
I saw it on stillcurtain.com. Go check it out.
On stillcurtain.com. His evaluation currently, at least if you look at PFF's metrics, which look better overall to me than a lot of the other sites in terms of like what these guys might get, he's looking at like $15 million a year on a 3-year deal. I think given the current state of the wide receiver market and the fact that they have literally 0 players on the roster who can do what Romeo Dobbs does, I'd be fine with paying him with like a 3-year $45 million deal, especially if they do then draft a player who can maybe be the receiver 1 long-term for this team, right? Like if you have one of the draft picks, DK Metcalf, Romeo Dobbs as your 3 receivers next year, that'll work.
Yeah.
Will it be like the best receiver trio in the league? No. Will it be way more presentable than it was last year, especially for an offense that's going to use 3 receivers a lot, or should at least, based on past precedent. Yes, much more. So that would make a lot of sense to me, because I think everyone else that's like in that range, like I'm not paying Juwan Jennings $20 million a year, whatever he's supposed to get. I'm not going to pay Alec Pierce, because no one's going to pay Alec Pierce except for the Colts, because he's not going anywhere. I promise people that. Like, I keep seeing like, oh, everyone's going to get Alec Pierce. There's always one receiver where everyone's like, every team's going to sign Alec Pierce. And meanwhile, no one's actually going to do it except for the team that already has him. Because when the player's good enough to get that kind of conversation, they don't go anywhere. So it's the T. Higgins thing all over again. He's not going anywhere probably. So if it's not someone like that, I think that Dobbs makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm Team Dobbs as well. I feel like he's just the most likely option as well. I mean, I think Pierce is a fun thought. I mean, does he lead the league in yards per reception, or?
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah,
it was like over 20,
right?
Yeah, it was over 20 both the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's I agree with you, Shayne. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't see it. Like, I think he's too valuable to that offense and to Daniel Jones, assuming that they're able to keep him around.
Seems like they are.
Which I'm guessing they are. So, when there's such a good system fit like that, I feel like they both know that they need each other to a certain extent. So, yeah, I'm Team Dobbs, and then I'm Team please draft a wideout first in the first round, someone that can maybe eventually take over for DK in a year.
I'm kind of in the same boat that why not both, right? Like, draft one, sign another one. Like, you just have no talent there. I'm so ready to just get an influx of it. And I think that's really the right direction to go for this team, is to load up on skill position talent this year. You've invested in the trenches reasonably well. You have an aging defense. If you are not going to, like, if you're still plugging holes to try to compete, that's another way to improve things meaningfully. I don't think it will. I know it won't change anything, but it's probably your best bet, along with, in my opinion, a Malik Willis signing, which is a lot to do. So you got to free up some cap space. So send Patrick Queen packing.
Literally, yeah. Like,
and
if you are going to do this, John again.
And John, please.
I'm just going to pretend he's off the team until
I'm not even engaging in conversations about that not happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not. But like, realistically, like you said, Josh, before we get out of here, like, if this team really is going to tell us, like, oh, we think we can compete, we signed a 62-year-old head coach, and we're gonna, in this case, please don't bring back Aaron Rodgers. But if you really think, like, oh, we're bringing back, then do something. Like, actually, like, don't do this thing where it's like, well, we're sort of compete. Like, sign everyone you can that you think is a meaningful impact player. Draft players who can help you right now. Do the thing. Like, don't do both or try to do both. It never works. You have to kind of lean in one direction or the other, and they haven't really been doing that. So that's my biggest thing, is they better make a lot of moves this offseason, because if they don't, they're already selling snake oil. They're not even pretending to not sell snake oil if they don't do that. Like, they even know they're selling snake oil then. So that's going to irritate me if they don't make a lot of moves this offseason.
Mark, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Just cut Jonnu Smith for Shayne's sake, I think, first off.
Yes.
Yeah, and second, I am hopeful that we won't get Aaron year 2, but I fully expect it, and it just is what it is, man. We're gonna have to suffer through.
Well, it's good to have hope.
Yes.
We'll leave it there on the Still Curtain podcast. If you like the Still Curtain podcast, all our content here, first, of course, subscribe to Still Curtain podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Like, comment, everything. It really helps us out, grow our audience. But also go to stillcurtain.com to check out Shayne's writing and all the great contributors, and Tommy and everyone on stillcurtain.com, and go to fansided.com to read all of Mark's great stuff. And Cody Williams has his NFL mock drafts that are fantastic, and everything over there at fansided.com. Until next time from us, which is probably going to be next Monday, recapping the combine and everything we saw, and on Wednesday for Shayne with Tommy and their show. So long. Have a great week. And as always, go Steelers.